Welcome to this episode of Kyber Clips. I'm Mike Jafrida, President of Kyber Security, joined by Bob Thomas, VCIO, VCIS of Kyber Security, and for our clients. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks, Mike. How we doing?
We're doing all right.
All right.
I love that jacket, by the way.
I don't know. People say it's similar to other stuff I wear, but I figured I'd see. I think we ought to have a contest, to tell you the truth.
Who can
see
tell
if,
which
well,
jacket?
see if people are paying attention when they're watching videos.
That's right.
Is that the same jacket, or did he change?
We'll run a poll.
That's exactly.
What we're really here to talk about is not Bob's great dress wardrobe, but we're here to talk about incident response plans. In today's great cybersecurity world, with the amount of attacks and things that are happening every day. Warfare, cyber warfare.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Incident response plans have just become more and more critical to an organization and their success. So let's just start with, at the very beginning, what is an incident response plan? Why do I need one?
So let me start with the why first. You need one so you're not running around with your hair on fire when something bad happens. I think that the objective of a documented, that's key to this whole thing, incident response plan is when something adverse happens, you're breached, you have a business email compromise, you're hit with ransomware, malware gets onto a machine, multiple machines, gets populated all over the place. What do I do, and how do I do it in an orderly fashion?
I call Kyber. It's easy.
Well, you know what? That may be part of it. You know, and we've had clients call us and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And we jump into action. But at the end of the day, we're not the ones that are inside the business having to communicate with the clients, with the vendors, with the media. And that story, which is a very critical part of an incident response plan, is how do I communicate what's happened in the same exact way, in the same exact voice to every person that needs to be communicated to. You don't have 5 people telling 5 different clients 5 different stories. That's not the way to get through one of these incidents. It's not the way to retain clients and maintain your reputation, which at the end of the day is a big part of incident response. How do I protect my brand?
So, obviously, a communications plan of sorts has got to be included in this. What other major components are in an IR plan?
Well, typically an IR plan is a workflow of sorts that says, okay, if something happens, let's determine who's impacted, what the impact is, are systems offline, encrypted because of ransomware, and how critical are those systems, how quickly do we need to get them back up and running. And once you know that scope and that magnitude, okay, now I know here are the players that need to be involved from my team, from my managed security services provider team. Okay, now I can jump into action. Who's my incident commander? There's only one of those, and that's the person that dictates to everyone what their responsibility is, following the playbook, if you want to call it that. That's really what this is. I'm following a playbook. I'm telling people exactly what to do. And really, most importantly, who to communicate to and what timeline they have in order to construct a response. If you can't fix this in 30 minutes, you need to automatically escalate this and communicate, update tickets, whatever the process is that's documented, you have to move through and follow it. This isn't, well, I think I'm kind of close to fixing it. Give me another hour or two, I should probably be there. No, that's not what the playbook says. I'm sure that's not what the playbook says. You need to follow it to the T, and if you need to escalate, you do that. And then who's communicating along the way, further upstream to management, to ownership, to investors, and even to press, if it gets to that point.
I think it's important to recognize as well that you have to assume that this document is the only thing you have at this point if your systems are all down, which means when you talk about communicating to the person, it can't say call the lawyer, right? It's got to say call Jimmy Jones
At this number.
867-555-3333.
Yes.
Because you need to have all of that information at your fingertips, because you have to assume your systems are not available to give you any of that. Same with the fact that this plan cannot be stored on your systems, or solely on your systems.
There you go. That's right. We have this conversation with our clients at least every quarterly business review. Hey, and we just had one this morning. We know that you're in the midst of updating in this particular case, it was disaster recovery plan. Make sure that when you're done, you save it here and you send us a copy, and we have an encrypted storage repository that we will save it in. So if something goes haywire on the client's end and they can't get to it, and they're not in the office and that's the only place the printed copy is, okay, call us. Here's our number. You know our number. And bang, we have it at the ready. We can have it to you in under 5 minutes. So that's a key thing, that you have to be able to get to whatever you're following.
And I've even seen some of our clients, I'm not going to call it the nuclear football, but they keep a copy of it in the briefcase,
server room,
or in the briefcase, and just have it, and know that they're traveling.
In their go bag.
Their go bag. They're in the right. Again, it's not quite the nuclear football, but they want to know that if something happens and they're at home, they're at the Cape, they're somewhere, that they've got the access to this data, because it's that important.
It is that important, and if it is truly the playbook that you're supposed to follow, if you don't have it, you will run around with your hair on fire, and it will take you 10 times as long to recover. It just will be that way.
So I mentioned, the lawyer as an example, as one of the stakeholders, one of the folks that needs to be contacted in here, right? We've also got any internal stakeholders, we've got external stakeholders, clients, right? I mean, you've got a certain order of all that.
I'm waiting for another one.
Who's the first one?
So there's usually a fight about this as to who should be called first.
That's why I gave you the question.
Yeah, you're a managed security services provider. They, because a company like ours is always at the ready, we've got people standing by to be able to fight fires so we can jump into action. But at the same time, your cyber insurance carrier, if you ask them, they will say without fail, you have to call us first, because they ought to have a crazy amount of resources at the ready, at their available timeline. They look, who do we need? We need a forensics team. Oh, okay. Call this company. They're our third-party forensics team, and the cyber insurance people will pay them, engage with them, and get them to research exactly how it happened. Okay, well, what's next? Oh, well, we need a recovery team. Well, in order to do recovery, we need working equipment. Okay, make sure that they have maybe an advance of money. We had this discussion just a little while ago, in order to procure equipment to be able to recover to. All of these things should be happening simultaneously, not necessarily sequentially, but I guarantee you that the cyber insurance company, they will want to know, whoever that carrier is, you have a personal relationship with your agent, those people should be on the list at the top, because they have a tremendous amount of resources available.
And some cash on the table for that too, right? Some responsibility financially for what happens.
Absolutely.
So we write the
they're on
plan.
the hook.
It's got everything in there. T's are crossed, I's are dotted. I'm done.
Test. So we're in front of a tabletop. People say you do a tabletop test. You call your management team into a conference room and you announce, here's the test. This doesn't have to happen every week, every month, every quarter. It has to happen once a year. You have to pick something different each year, maybe multiple incidents, and say, okay, make believe we were just hit with this, and we've got no access to fill in the blank. Maybe power went out. Tornado just rolled through, took the building out, and we've got no access to production equipment, servers, anything. Okay, what do we do? Okay, well, I think obviously the cyber carrier is going to get called, but you have to walk through whatever your playbook says. What am I supposed to do when this happens? Oh, gee, we didn't have that scenario in the book. Okay, lesson learned. We need to add that to the book. Add scenario, add workflow to how it happens, how we're supposed to deal with it.
We didn't think a pandemic was going to hit us.
Right, and I hate to say it, a lot of people were faced with that, and
sure.
That's now in everybody's playbook.
Yeah. Well, I know this comes up a lot with our clients because it's required for most of the compliances that are out there, CMMC, FTC safeguards rule, a lot of the stuff that we deal with folks on every day. So it's important that this is on their radar, and it's not, you can't just assume okay, the IT company's taking care of it, because there's a lot of other facets that are included in this that need to be addressed and need to be available when other systems, etc., may not be available.
Think about production equipment. Hey, if their shop machinery, their CNC machine has an I-beam fall on it. Now they were working on the building, bang, crushes the machine, and that's the only machine they can make a specific part with. What do? I hate to say, as a managed security provider, we don't have any way to help. Yeah, okay, we may know somebody because we're in the business and call this guy because he may have an extra one, but that's on the client to figure out how is he going to deal with the problem and without having that equipment.
Yeah.
There's
So a lot to think about. To think about for these folks, and just again getting it down on paper. Version 1 won't be version last, but that's what the testing and lessons learned is all about.
Yeah.
So
Test.
Thanks for the great information about incident response plans, and
problem.
thank you for joining us on this episode of Kyber Clips.
Hey, thanks folks again for joining us today for a Kyber Clips episode. Hope you enjoyed the information. If you did, please don't hesitate in subscribing to our channel, smash the like button, and always comment below or reach out to us at sales@kybersecure.com.